Hello, my name is Ronald Halsinger. I'm a dynamic mining leader and I have over 33 years of mining experience. I excel mostly with innovating solutions and driving projects forward. I started off my career as a site agent. I was working for Matabele and Carriers and they were contracted to Globe and Phoenix Mine. I then went to Natural Stone Export Company where I did some rigorous training and I worked my way up to assistant mine manager. I was later then made head of department where I ran the technical department, which incorporated the diamond wire saws, DTH machines, and core drills. I then was offered a dual mine managerial position at Kili Granite, where I ran both of their mines in Fungwe. And later I came here to South Africa because, in actual fact, whilst it was a real pleasure working for Kili, Zimbabwe went through a phase of hyperinflation. In fact, you may remember that it was around about 1,000,000% a day, and one couldn't even buy normal basic commodities to live on. So it was intolerable for the family mostly, and we decided to come here to South Africa, which we did. I then got a job as the Chief Operations Officer for TWP. TWP was later bought out by Basil Reed and subsequently by Worley. But during that time at TWP, I developed the first zero waste quarry in the world, and that was put into practice and worked quite nicely, but that was through multifaceted beneficiation mechanisms. Obviously, that cannot happen with every single quarry because it depends on what the geological structures are. However, it was a good principle and it worked. I was given the option, obviously, to apply for our jobs back at Basil Reed, which we decided rather than apply or face retrenchment. I went on to start a new opportunity in Zimbabwe called Sisheville Investments. It was a greenfields operation and really small, 20 hectares, and I grew that to around 780 hectares after proving out 23 kilometers worth of strike as well. I sold my shares eventually in Sisheville, and during that time, there was also a political interference from Zimbabwe, where all mines had to now have 51% indigenous partners, and that put a bit of a restriction really on investors. They weren't really, it wasn't conducive for investors. So we went through a lull, and during that time, I managed quarrying enterprises, two of their quarries also simultaneously in Motoko. And then after that, and after I sold my shares, I then came here to South Africa and I became the general manager for Eagle Granite here in Brits. That was also the 4.1 legal appointment. I think it's noteworthy to point out that I've held a 4.1 legal appointment from TWP, which was in 2008, all the way through to 2019 here in South Africa, and was registered with the DMRE all the time. In between, I have also taken on a 3.1 legal appointment as mine manager from time to time, but typically I would be the guy that appoints the mine managers. I left Eagle Granite, beg your pardon, in 2023, in mid 2023, and I started my own consulting company, Ronald Halsinger Consulting, and I also simultaneously opened up Micromite, which was a health emporium. But it wasn't my typical line of work, and it was more as a give back exercise to try and help people avoid ingesting glyphosate from your petroleum based chemicals and fertilizers, and that way, try and exonerate people getting autism and cancers and things like that. In any event, I later went on to be mine manager and the 4.1 legal appointee for Maxima Silica. It wasn't at the same time. It was just 2 windows because my contract was a short-term contract. It was for 6 months, and then was later extended for a further 6 months. But where I became the mine manager. I revamped their plant for them and also developed one of the very first dust extractors with rotational trommel. And with it being a silica dust, obviously people get prone to silicosis and so on and so forth. So that worked quite nicely as well. In fact, they're still using my design and my machines right there. I then left Maxima Silica and continued to do some consulting work for Eagle Granite again. And that was at the Bonnecourt Quarry. But the Bonnecourt Quarry had already seen its life through, and we found it pretty impossible to ramp up the production. In fact, if anything, it's going through, near closure of mine right now. So there was no point to keep me on. as a consultant, earning big money when other people were already going on half rates and so on and so forth. So it didn't work out. Currently now, I am the workshops and projects manager for a large engineering company called MetProTech, MPT, and we make mining equipment for large mines such as First Quantum in Zambia, Palabora mine here in South Africa, and in fact, well, there's others all over Africa, Greater Africa as well. So I pretty much do the fabrication work for the ball mills, crushers, rolls crushers, all the various different separators and such, tanks and so on and so forth, which I'm quite good at, but it's not my field in actual fact. But I've been doing it, for 20-30 years already, and it just makes me versatile. And so in the event that there is a breakdown on the mine, I would know how to fix it and probably save costs that way too. Well, I think this is the first of my videos. I will be making a few more if we go to the next stage. So nice to meet you. Thank you very much.